Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. Alright, let's address the elephant in the room. I know it's not Halloween. Alright, that's long past. But when it came to my Halloween videos, I ran out of time and I couldn't upload everything I wanted to. So that's why I'm uploading them past Halloween. But if you stop and look at it like this, at some point in time, it's gonna be Halloween time again, October. So somebody eventually will stumble upon my videos and watch it around Halloween time. So yeah, and I'm here today to talk to you about It Lives Inside, the 2023 supernatural horror movie. So I remember when I saw the trailer for this and my first reaction was, cool, like a horror movie that depicts Indian people living in America, something you would never, ever see. So I was really invested in that. But then I was also even more invested in it when I saw who two of the lead actresses were. One of them being Megan Shuri from the show Guidance season 3, which I reviewed. Go watch that. And what's the other actress name? I'm gonna mispronounce this. Mohana Krishna. I remember her as Tammy from I Am Frankie, which I reviewed that. Go watch that. And I was so happy to see both of them in new projects and stuff, because I remember when I saw Mohana in I Am Frankie, one thing that always bugged the crap out of me was I didn't understand how the young cast never got swept up by Disney or Nickelodeon. Because I Am Frankie is a Nickelodeon show. It lasted for 2 seasons, and the only reason it got canceled is because there was a new CEO that came into Nickelodeon, and he only wanted his shows to be on there, and I Am Frankie was not one of those. And so I always thought the younger cast was so talented, and they never got swept up in Hollywood. And it was always bugging me how I never saw them in any other project. So when I saw her in the trailer, I'm like, oh, I'm so gonna watch this. And so the movie is on Hulu and you can go watch it. Now, this debuted in 7th place in theaters and stuff. 7th place. It's good to be in the top 10, but being 7th is not necessarily good because it's kind of at the lower bottom. And so one reason for that is because, well, there are 2 things weighing this movie down. One is the PG-13 rating. If you're going to do horror, you can't do PG-13. You gotta have an R rating. But I will say, what was given to them and what they was able to accomplish in that PG-13 rating was really good and really spooky. It could have been pumped up to a 10 if it would have had an R rating. The second thing weighing this down is I'm conflicted by saying this because it's not bad in the story. It's just it takes up too much of the story, and that is the cultural aspect of the main girl and her family. Basically, it's the little Indian girl who is getting swept up in American Western culture, and her mom disapproves of that. That takes up about 80% of the movie, and the last 20% is just horror stuff. And in the horror movie, while it's good to get a backstory on your main character and stuff and what they're going through, 80% of it shouldn't have to have 80% of it. It's a horror movie, it's supposed to have a horror thing. So the movie, while spooky and everything, it has its scary moments, it's not overall scary. It reminds me of the first Annabelle and the first Conjuring movie, where the majority of that movie is just people walking around talking, doing their everyday lives for a whole hour, and then the last 30 to 40 minutes is the horror stuff. And that's kind of how this movie is. So while it is a good horror movie, it's not a great scary horror movie. And so to break it down, what I mean is okay, if my voice sounds a little funny, it's because I'm getting over a cold. I've been sick for 12 days. I've been meaning to put this video and other videos out a whole lot sooner, but I got really sick on Christmas Eve, and I'm just now getting over it. Okay, so this is a movie I've been wanting to talk about for the longest time. And so, like, it was actually directed and written by that of up-and-coming director, I'm probably gonna mispronounce his name, Bizal Dota. Sorry, dude, if I mispronounce your name. Bizhal Dalta. And so, like, he is very new and up and coming. A lot of the stuff he's done before are like shorts and stuff, like short films and things like this. This is his big first, like, major, like, outing. And so, like, when it comes to this, he's a huge horror movie fan. He built inspiration from this movie because he moved to, like, North America from India at age 4. And so one way he learned about American culture is through horror movies. Because, you know, a lot of people from other countries, they learn about American culture from TV and movies. And he's always wondered what his people are doing and other families are doing as, you know, like, he's watching these horror movies, you know, because, you know, in horror movies, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, you know, 2010s, they're predominantly white. And that's just how horror and slasher movies are. They're predominantly white. You'll probably have like a splash of like a black person in there or a Latino person, but that's about it. And so you never really see everybody in these horror movies. So he's always wondered, you know, what his people would be doing if they was in, like, you know, these horror movies and stuff. So basically this was like a love letter to that of his community, why the movie is predominantly Indian and stuff. And so, like, you know, so this is two different types of movies. It's a cultural movie and it's a horror movie. And I applaud him for doing that because nobody else was going to make a horror Indian movie. So thank God he did. But the problem is, like I said before, it's two completely different movies. And one weighs over the other. You have to have a nice blend of, like, both. And only one of those aspects of the movie takes over for the entirety of the movie. And so while I'll say he did a good job for his first outing, but, you know, practice makes perfect and stuff. And I appreciated seeing the cultural differences, especially with that of his people. But the one thing that does get to me about it is, like, I've said before, I've wanted always to see more Indian, like, culture on screen and stuff like that. There was one television show I tried to watch, was a sitcom, but they kept going back and forth from Hindi to, like, English and stuff. And I couldn't understand what they were saying, so I stopped watching it. But, like, in every show I've ever seen that depicts, like, an Indian person or a Pakistani person or something like that, it's always the same thing going on with those characters. This is probably like the third or fourth time I've seen an Indian girl who's very Americanized or westernized, because one show I saw was in Britain. And so, like, it's always an Indian girl who likes white culture and her mother always disapproves of it. And so that's something I'm always seeing. And so I'm all like, that can't be the only thing that goes on with these people. So I kind of want to see something different. So while it was nice to see that, this is, like I said before, my third or fourth time seeing that same storyline and everything, you know? And that's what happens with this main character. Megan Shuri character, Simada, but she goes by Sam, she is very Americanized. Even to the point where I'm pretty sure she's using a filter on her phone to make her skin lighter. And all her friends at school that she talks to are, like, you know, people other than her race and stuff. She has a really weird, like, you know, friendship with her teacher, which is kind of odd in the movie, and it's never really explained. But they're a little too friendly. Not that kind of friendly, but they're like best friends almost. And it's just kind of odd to see that, especially when all the, like, spooky heebie-jeebie stuff starts to happen. And, like, you know, she calls her for help, and I'm just like, why her? but she doesn't really have that many friends. And so, there's a guy she likes, and there's a girl she'll talk to who's white, but the girl just uses her to do her homework. Now, the white girl in the movie, the actress name is Beatrice Kistrush. I thought for sure she'll have like a bigger role in this because she stars in like a lot of horror stuff. She was in Are You Afraid of the Dark season 2, the reboot, and a bunch of other stuff like that like horror like TV showish movies and stuff like that. But she's only in it for like a few seconds, and she's only there to like copy off of like Sam's paper and stuff. So I was kind of shocked that she wasn't in there more. And she should have been killed by the monster because the monster only kills like one person in the entire movie. A family off screen years ago. And it wounds like a couple other people, but they like survive. And it's just kind of like, for a horror movie, you want your monster to like kill somebody, you know what I'm saying? But it's PG-13, so they can only do what they could do. This movie doesn't have a lot of characters you want to root for. Like, some of these characters are just literally just there to be there. And it's not like they're terrible or nothing like that. But it's just kind of like, you have no reason to want to root for them to live. Except for one. And I'll get to her a little bit later. And, the teacher's kind of nice too. So that's another person to root for. And, the father's nice. The mom is very strict. The boyfriend is just a boyfriend, and Kitty, who's played by Beatrice, is only there for a couple of seconds, so you don't want to root for her. And so, it's kind of hard, because in a horror movie, you need somebody to root for, And the one person I rooted for is barely in the movie, because she's pretty much held hostage the entire time. And so there is our main protagonist, Sam. Sam is a very unlikable protagonist. Throughout the entirety of the movie, I have no reason to want to root for her. I could care less if the big bad monster wants to get her or not. And the reason for that is because I don't hate this character. It's just she's so unlikable. Like I said before, she's from another country, but she wants to be Americanized very, very badly. She doesn't hang out with nobody of her own race. And the only person who is of her own race who she used to hang out with, she stopped hanging out with. I think her name is Tamara. She stopped hanging out with her because I actually don't really know why. It's just, I think it's because Tamara wouldn't fully adopt a Western civilization, and so because of that, Sam just didn't want nothing to do with her and everything, and so she just completely shunned her and stopped being friends with her and stuff. And all of her friends, like I said, are her race and everything. And so even when Tamara comes to her for help because, she's scared of the monster and everything, Sam just completely pushes her away. And it's just it's hard to want to root for this character, especially how she's hanging out with Kitty and all Kitty does is copy off her paper and stuff. And so, even when she's supposed to have this big traditional, Indian party, she doesn't want to do it. And instead, she ditches just to go hang out with Ross, is the guy she likes, so she can go to, a bomb party and stuff. Her mom is overly strict, so it makes it hard to like the mom and everything. The mom gets on to her talking about, why do you not speak Indian no more? All you want to do is speak English and all this other stuff. And, you're drifting further away from me. And, Sam tells her, well, you don't want us or you don't want me talking English and all this other stuff. Why did you move us over here? And so, like I said before, this is two different movies. It's a cultural movie and it's a horror movie. I wish it would have leaned more in the cultural and left out the horror because it just would have made a really nice cultural movie and everything. And the cultural part does take up way too much of the movie. And so throughout the entire movie, it's just her and her mom constantly going at it and her drifting more and more away from that of her roots and stuff like that. And she pushes Tamara away, and then Tamara gets kidnapped, so everybody thought she ran away. And then so it's finally revealed, because see, Tamara came to her about what this monster thing is. I like the Tamara character. She's the only person like I root for. And she does a really good job of playing like this outcast type person, who's like shy and timid and stuff like that. And other kids think she's strange. One of the reasons why Sam doesn't want to hang around her. And one of the reasons why she's acting extra strange is because she has a little demon in like a jar. And I really love it how she carries like the jar around. She holds her head down and she looks really tired and weak. It's because she hasn't slept in like forever. And she's told like, Sam that. And she said, this is this little demon thing from like stories we heard from when we was little and this and that. And she got it from like Karen's house and stuff. Karen is a character completely off screen who died years ago, was an Indian girl and her family who came over here and brought the demon on over. And so she tells like, Sam, like, I haven't slept in days. I'm too scared. And I'm constantly feeding this thing raw meat. And the way she tells her, like, I really love it because she's like tired. She's drained. She's just holding it in her hand. Her hair is like a mess and everything. And she's barely like looking at anybody when she talks to like Sam. And I just love the part when she's all like, I feed it raw meat. It's like, oh crap. And if you don't feed it in time, it will bust through the little glass jar. And so at some point, it just irritates like Sam to hear all this stuff, and she just shuns like Tamara away. And so then we see Tamara at school, and then all of a sudden something grabs her from behind. At some point in time, we see her wake up in a tub, and there's something like a sheet over her face. And I'm very confused by this part. I'm like, where is she at, and why is she in a tub, and why did the demon bring her there? And so we see her free herself and she picks up a weapon. And so she's somewhere down below because she's walking up these steps, but then the thing grabs her back. And I wish there was more like jump scares. Like there are jump scares in this movie and they're pretty good. And I like how it tosses people around and stuff like that. I just wish there was more of that. And like when it comes to the jump scares, see, my thing is like this. I've been watching the Conjuring universe recently and the movie Smile. And when it comes to jump scares and horror movies and demons and spirits and this and that, it's hard to be original because pretty much all you can do is just toss people around and like, toss other stuff around and stuff, right? One interesting thing I like about the Conjuring universe is that the jump scares are very fresh. Same thing with Smile. It's like, it's coming, the jump scare, but it lingers on to where it takes a good while to get there. And then it comes in the most odd place you're not even looking at. And I like that. I wish the movie could have done a little bit more like that, but it is good for what we get and stuff. And so because of this, Tamara is taking out pretty much the entire movie. As Sam is like, getting on her mom's nerves and this and that, she starts to worry about Tamara finally because, the girl's been missing for a couple of days and stuff. When she's talking to Russ, they're at Karen's old place that's been like condemned. So they go in, it's like really like, trashed and messed up. And, she talks about how like, I forget exactly what they talk about, but I know they kiss. At some point in time, she stays in the house while Russ is outside and something literally grabs him, tossing him around and swinging him around. And I really love the effect of that. And it rips him like up and everything and it kills him. So it is that monster thing that like got out of the jar. And we never get to see him get eat. But like, I don't understand. Why would it just rip him up? If it craves flesh, then why didn't it like eat him? Anyway, the police get called and like this really pisses off like Sam's mom and everything because, like she was the last person seen with both Tamara and, Russ, and it's not looking good for her and stuff like that. But anyway, she talks to her teacher and she tells her, she thinks Tamara got taken by like this demon, something from their childhood. So the teacher looks it up on like the internet, and apparently, I'm gonna mispronounce this. It's called Pishnash, I think, the demon, and it's from Indian folklore. We never really get to see it much on the screen, but when we do get to see it, it's mostly in the dark. But the costume looks amazing and stuff. I believe it looks different from what I saw on Wikipedia. On Wikipedia is much more different, but it's much more horrorish and stuff like that. So of course, when Tamara's home, she tells her mom everything that's been going on. She wants to know about the story that her mom used to tell her and Tamara about this demon thing. And now her and her mom are finally starting to connect. See, my thing about this, if it's gonna be mostly a cultural movie, there needs to be some kind of redemption at the end. There is, but Sam only redeems herself when her boyfriend gets like ripped to shreds and everything. And that's what causes her to want to take this whole thing seriously and then take her culture seriously. And I'm just like, only because your boyfriend died? And it's not strong enough for me, and it should have been stronger, the redemption thing. But anyway, it causes her to want to listen to her mom, put on a traditional like Indian dress, the henna hand paint and stuff like that. And so they decided, you know what, since this thing eats meat, they don't eat meat, they're gonna offer it other food. And I'm thinking to myself, if the thing eats meat, it's not gonna want vegetables and grain. But hey, anything could help, it could persuade its mind. That's what the mom is hoping. The teacher gets attacked at the school because it's still there for some bizarre reason, and it's hungry. And so she says that, it feeds on negative energy before, it consumes its victim, and that Tamara might actually be alive because it likes to store its food sometimes. And so it attacks the teacher, it tosses her around. That's really nice to see. She hides in like a locker and stuff, but it rips her back up and stuff, but she doesn't die. And then so when they're home, the dad gets attacked by the monster and he gets his back ripped and stuff like that, but he doesn't die. Somebody needs to die other than Russ. If it was me making this movie, I would have killed Russ. I would have killed possibly the teacher and of course Kitty and everything. And or maybe I would have taken out one of the parents or something, because the thing is supposed to be really bad, really evil and stuff. And so of course the food offering that they made, the thing did not work. And so at some point she realizes, oh wait, Tamara might be at Karen's house, because the thing feeds on negative energy, and there's a lot of negative energy at the house where it slaughtered an entire family. So she hops on her bike and she tells her mom, I won't be alone. I'm going to have help killing this thing. And I'm thinking to myself, if your help is Tamara, the girl has literally not slept in days and has not eaten in days, and she's super weak. How is she supposed to help you? Anyways, I do like how she rides her bike around town, because I get tired of these horror movies and people are in these nice sports cars and stuff like that. They're teenagers and not supposed to have all these nice sports cars like in other movies. So I'm happy she has a bike. And so she heads on over there and she takes the jar with her, because the only way to contain this thing is to put it in a jar. And so there's lots of other stuff that she read about this thing on the internet and this and that. And so she tries to save Tamara in the tub, and Tamara's very weak, and they hold hands and they chant. And the chanting is working, but it's not strong enough, and the monster destroys the jar. And I'm thinking to myself, why in the world didn't you bring more jars? I would have brought at least 10. And so after reading something on the internet, she realizes something. You can trap this demon within a vessel. It doesn't have to be like a jar. It can also be a human vessel. So you could probably guess what's gonna happen next. They do the chanting and she allows the demon to go inside her body. And I'm thinking to myself, are you insane? Because if you don't feed it in time, it's gonna rip you to shreds. So a year passes, and we see everybody's at her house that's survivors. We see the mom, we see the dad who's alive, we see the teacher that's alive, we see Tamara, and we see Sam. They're all having dinner at Sam's place. I still don't know what this relationship is with the teacher, but whatever. And then we see Tamara having to eat meat, and it looks like raw meat, and she has to eat it to make the demon happy. I'm thinking to myself, in a year's time, why didn't they let the demon out and put it in the jar instead of and get it out of like Tamara? But I guess this is her penance and everything. She has to like keep the demon inside her body and stuff like that. But now, of course, her and Tamara are back to being friends again and this and that. So all in all, like I said, it's not a bad horror movie. It's just not very scary. And because it's two completely different movies. It's majority a cultural movie, and then it's just a horror movie that's like shoved in there. And, you have to have a nice blend of like both. And it would have been nice if it had a nice blend of like, both genres and stuff. If not, I would have preferred just a cultural movie. And they were gonna make a horror movie, and they really needed that R rating. PG, they did a good job for PG-13. Don't get me wrong, but it would have been a whole lot better if it would have been an R rating. And the movie made about $7.2 million at the box office, so I don't think it's gonna get a sequel or a prequel. However, if they were to get a prequel, I would love to see the events that led to Mara getting the demon and everything. And, we could have followed her and all this other stuff. And then if they were to make another prequel, then we could see how Karen's parents brought it over from India and how they got slaughtered and stuff, giving it, of course, an R rating. But sadly, I don't think that would ever happen. But I do like the fact that this is a different type of horror movie from a different, like, cultural, like, mythology and stuff like that. And I do like how they have people of color being like the main cast of the movie. That is really nice to see, because I get so tired of seeing the same thing in like these horror movies. In the Conjuring universe, it's nothing but a white cast. And it happened to be like one little black person and one little Asian person and maybe one little Hispanic person, and then that's it. And everybody else is white. And, when it comes to the Conjuring universe, it's not like it's the best horror movies ever. Like, I haven't talked about them yet, but I don't like none of those movies. The Conjuring movies are alright, but like I said before, it's a whole hour of people talking, and then they get to the horror stuff within the 30 or 40 minutes that's left over. But and it's like, it's not really all that scary, and these movies are based on hoax and everything, like fake real events. And if they can make a whole universe out of that, hey, why not make a whole universe out of this? You know what I'm saying? Because this would be really cool. And so I really wish Hollywood would take note to this movie and like make a whole cinematic universe with the prequels and stuff. But when it comes to the director, person who like created this, like I said before, this is his first big outing and he did a pretty good job, but he needs some tweaks to his work here and there. Like, you just can't make a whole cultural movie and then cram horror stuff in there and stuff, because it's not gonna work. Because in a horror movie, you want that edginess and you want that horror aspect of it and stuff. And, like, I think he did a pretty good job, but it's just like he needs tweaks here and there. And maybe like a co-writer or something like that. That wasn't that spooky. Alright, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.